Advisory Commission, we're in City Council's chambers on the second floor of City Hall. Stephanie, if you want to do the roll call.
Sure. So Alex Katziard,
Here.
Joel Panazzo,
Here.
Peter Wolf,
Here.
Holly Parker,
Here.
and Carleen Getz is absent.
All right. Approval of this agenda. If anybody has any additions, we can move forward to the first public commentary. No? Okay. And then if you want to take a look at the previous meeting minutes, and if we could approve them.
I move to approve.
I'll second.
All right, we are approved. Oh, sorry,
We
What?
vote,
we need to vote.
yeah, whether we approve
Say
Okay.
all in favor.
All in favor?
it. Aye.
Got it.
Aye.
So you motion, got it,
Second.
got it. All these steps. I'll get it someday.
We'll support it. We're,
Thank you. So we will start with
Yeah.
the Fifth Street presentation.
The mouse is over here.
Okay.
Okay, so this is an kind of the latest on the project, the 5th and Detroit Street. We wanted to give you guys the details that we have so far and talk about how it is affecting the market. And, this is more informational. Hopefully, I'd love to talk through some stuff if you have concerns and hear what your thoughts are, because we are conversing with the GDA, and this is a process. But this is more, informational for us. So, yes, let's see, timeline. Construction is supposed to start next spring in April. Yeah, so the hope is that if we are doing any improvements or projects of our own for the market infrastructure, then they would not be overlapping. They would be at different times. And then it's supposed to take place over the course of the summer and be complete in the fall of 2018. If you guys have any questions as I'm talking, feel free to ask. And also Joel is very familiar with this too, so hopefully if I don't know, he can help fill us in. And I don't know, maybe you are as well. Yeah, so a lot of goals came into account with this project. They're trying to especially improve pedestrian safety and crossing as people are crossing 5th Street. So this is, the construction is really taking place at the intersection of 5th and Detroit, and a little bit more along 5th as well. So, students crossing from community high school, traffic, is going, and, trying to preserve that brick historic character is important as well. So here is a layout of the area. I can talk about this a little more too, but this down here, this side and area of Detroit Street will not be touched as much. They might do a little bit of patching or improvements, but the street itself is not going to be torn up and redone. And however, these trees here are being replaced. I think they're kind of at the end of their lifespan right now. Where it's really being more of a construction project is over here, this bump out area. I have some closer images of what that will look like, but it will be turned into a seating and picnic area for customers, which will be really nice. And then this along 5th will be much more, much more construction going on there. Adding these crosswalks here, as you can see, and then there is this median that is going into the middle. It's, still a one-way street, but this median is for customers as they're crossing to be able to get safety and a rest before they get to the other side of the street. And as you can see, it kind of continues all the way out here and stops here. So it goes past the community high school driveway, which I think is going to be, affect us and our driving patterns a little bit because we won't be able to turn left, or customers won't be able to turn left into there unless they are already on this side. So they can't come down Detroit Street
Mhm.
and then turn here and then go left into the parking lot.
Do you know if trucks can turn in there too? Because I know, are there some farmers that actually park over there sometimes?
So, you still can access it. You
Okay.
just can't come down Detroit and then take a right and then take a left
I
quickly.
guess I'm just wondering if it's only one lane, is that wide enough for still a fairly big, not a semi, but a big truck
Yeah.
to turn there?
Yeah, so the lane should be big enough to accommodate semis, yes. They'll still be able to get down the street.
And,
Make that-
yeah,
that's-
yeah, like that's at least what they're talking, the DDA and the city is talking to us about. Smaller box trucks
Yeah.
will still be able to maneuver all of these angles.
Okay.
So-
I know some of the CSAs seem to sometimes.
Yeah, so like that, where she has her cursor
Yeah.
now,
Mhm.
any farmers' trucks that I've seen will be able to get into these passages. Yeah,
Yeah, this is something to note here. You're right, because this is something that affects us as well. Because of this median, I know affects Carytown a lot. The bigger trucks, the semis, usually turn left here and then back up to get into this space.
yeah,
And by putting this median here, it's much safer because, they shouldn't, it's not safe for them to be pulling that maneuver. And I think that's why we put the median there because, we're trying to encourage the good driving process. But however, there are one or two farmers' trucks that will not be able to just simply turn right. Because if they're bigger, I have the exact dimensions of how
Okay.
big a truck needs to be, but instead, I know they are increasing, and I can show you these loading zones later in the presentation, but they're making the existing loading zones longer so that semis won't be able to get in here, but they will be able to park in the loading zones more easily
Where are they?
on Fourth,
on Fourth and on
Kingsley. They're, on Kingsley over here, they're doing,
I can skip down there actually if we wanna. Where is it?
yeah.
Here
there
it is.
Mhm.
So, smaller box trucks will be able to fit in that current space
That's
between
nice.
Carytown Markets and Shops and the farmer's
Here.
market. And then all semis basically will not be doing anything on Fifth anymore.
Mhm.
And they'll be doing loading on Fourth and Kingsley.
Fourth and Kingsley. So this is being expanded here on Fourth. So right now it's too short.
Mhm.
Okay.
It will still be, I mean, it's a commercial loading zone, but it will still be a spot where farmers could stop and unload
Mhm.
Yeah.
and make things happen there.
Yes.
There'll be more space than exists there now.
Yeah, I've also spoken to them about the importance of not designating it simply commercial because a lot of farmers market vehicles aren't commercial vehicles.
And mine aren't even
Yeah,
either.
right. And so saying like vendor and commercial vehicle loading only or something like that so that we won't get ticketed.
Yeah.
Yeah, to accommodate us. Okay, yeah, this is just a shot of what it looks like as you're coming down Fifth and you're approaching this, as you can see, the medians here in the middle. Yep. So in the bike lanes, you can see where the bike lanes are.
Yeah, so the bike line is a little narrow, especially if you look at that car where the door opens into the bike lane.
Yeah,
So
that was one
They
of the.
promised me there was going to be enough space for that, but I don't think there
It's a
is.
very narrow corner there.
Yeah,
Well, yes, it's all been measured out, but as they said, they are trying to fit multiple things in here, parking and bike lane and the 2 lanes, so,
Mhm.
yeah, it's all figuring out how to get them all in there.
Anything's better than that.
Safety for students, yes. That's our goal. Okay, these are just some of the groups that have been giving input on this project. We're trying to, they are trying to think about the Carytown, obviously, are one of the most affected, but also the Historic Neighborhood Association, Downtown Area Citizens Advisory Council, and Historic District Commission. All have, put in comments to try to preserve their interests as well. So yeah, maintaining the historic character and the bricks is the big part that came out of those groups, because we want to maintain that feel. Park staff, we talked a lot about that bump out that I showed you on Detroit and how that can be, a really nice spot for seating and for pausing while you're at the market. Okay, so here's a little bit closer look at where all the crosswalks will be. This here, number 4, is already there. We have that. Number 2 is the bus stop for kids. And something that, as the market we've been talking about is, it's interesting, this section here in Detroit, right now, it's wide enough that cars will stop on one side to load and then still able to get another car past there. So it's been convenient for customers and vendors who need a quickly loading. However, we are losing that. It will now be just one, it will be narrower, so we won't be able to have anyone stop in this area. So we've been talking about, making this here, number 4, more of an intentional drop-off and loading zone for customers. Maybe having a sandwich board sign or something saying like 5 or 10 minute loading for customer zone, and then having some volunteers to assist with customers getting their stuff, that kind of thing, I think could be helpful. And doing something similar on 4th Street next to that loading zone, maybe, is a possibility. Yeah, bicycles. They're going to be putting in more bike racks over near Kingsley in Detroit. Yeah. Keep on going, unless anyone has particular questions. Like I said, they're replacing trees. You did note that there aren't going to be any trees near this entrance, so that there's more room for trucks to get in there, because it is such a tight turn for some of them. Yeah, again, so these are, well, let me skip down, there's better, okay. Yeah, as I said before, with the bump out here, and also across the street at Community High School, we're going to try to mirror that a little bit with the picnic tables and the tables and some planters. And then these areas over here, no tables necessarily, but maybe planters or something to make it nice as you're walking down the sidewalk. These are just examples of, having a wall for people to sit on with something planted on the other side that they were looking at. Again, kind of mimicking an idea similar to these, the cement walls with the plantings. And this is a view of, they're still finalizing this design, I believe, but this is kind of close to how it will be. The trees and the planters along the street, tables here, more tables over here, and more a sitting wall and something planted here. This here is interesting. They were originally going to put a thicker planter, but decided it took up too much of this middle space. So the last I heard, they were talking about just doing a wall with different heights to kind of make it interesting. People could sit on it, add a little sculpture and to that space. The other thing that affects us here at the market is, this is the sidewalk right here. And traditionally, all the vendors along this street have had an extra 2 feet past the sidewalk to be able to use for storage. So then the question is, are they gonna be able to put maybe some, like, still use this if there's this wall here? So, maybe if they really need it, being able to put their stuff on top of it, or, seeing if they don't necessarily need that space. It's a conversation we have to have.
And what are those posts? There are posts there too on that wall.
Posts?
Yeah.
Do they have like string lights on them?
That's a good question.
That looks like it.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what that is. We'll have to ask. We'll find out. Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
So
it
here's
looks like
here's
it.
another picture of it, so.
That's cool.
The kiosk is removed.
So if I'm seeing this right, that different height wall is in line with the rear posts on the awning of the farmer's market awning, right? Do they abut?
No.
Okay.
So here is, the awning would be where this white space is, basically. And then you have the sidewalk. And then you have that wall.
But currently, you're saying that currently the vendors that set up there moved back into what is the sidewalk space here, right?
Currently, the vendors use this for storage. They stop at the sidewalk, leave that open, and then they take an additional 2 feet on the other side of the sidewalk for storage.
And you said that's a conversation that needs to happen. Have you gotten their input or?
This is recent,
Okay.
so.
I mean, are they allowed to market from that direction too? Like, are people allowed to sell from multiple sides of their table?
No, not really. I mean, the space,
I don't know, it just seems like it might be a highly populated place, and it might be a good, I don't know.
yeah, no, I mean, they all face inward to the aisle. Anyone who is using this has been using it mostly for storage.
Mhm.
Yeah. Another picture. Yeah, so it does look like those are posts with lights over them.
Crossover too, across the area of the table. And that would be an interesting place for, and if, following up on, this idea, if you had some, like, a food vendor kind of thing there too, because if you have the tables there, that would be a logical place for having a food vendor nearby there too, just to have that all co-localized.
Yeah, I mean, I know so this area is not owned by the market, like this is city use space. But yeah, I mean, I think, people can have a meal there. Yeah. Just a closer view of the street lights that they're gonna be putting in the middle. You can see that. Just different angles. Okay, so yeah, next up, I mean, you saw the timeline earlier. So they're trying to confirm the design soon, I believe, by the end of this month. And then meeting with a few more groups, and then they will start bidding, putting out bids. Yeah. And let's see. Oh, this is just kind of like a more overall view of like the whole neighborhood. So I know yesterday they were talking about how they wanted to keep this 2 lanes instead of 1 lane because, improve traffic flow, because otherwise like Beeks over here would get a little backed up. So keeping it the 2 lanes helps with that.
Yeah, and I think they're bumping that curb out so people don't have the possibility of cruising down Beeks at,
Mm.
because the present design, you can cruise off of Beeks onto Fifth at like 35 miles per hour. So that would, with this design, it would be impossible to do that.
That corner is treacherous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's like a daycare right on the corner.
Yeah,
It's
it's
a little-
surrounded by fins. though.
Yeah, but still.
Still, yeah.
I mean, like, there's still a lot of like drop off and a lot of
Great.
activity at the beginning of the day and the end of the day.
Yeah.
It scares me.
My kids actually go there, and our house is in this picture, and I can personally attest to how treacherous that corner is, so
Oh, yeah.
it's good to see it.
Is that a median as well on Beeks? The yellow
The yellow rectangle.
Oh,
shapes? Or is that just showing direction?
I'm not aware of any, I don't think they'll be doing anything on Beeks,
Okay.
right?
I haven't heard, but that would be great if they did that.
Yeah.
It does look like a median, like they're portioning off the left turns,
Right
Yeah.
around the crosswalk.
right?
Yeah, if they are, I think someone might have asked that before, and I know it's not part of this project, but I think that because they were doing this project, they were saying that they had been, they're thinking about this whole area, not the DDA necessarily, but like the city
Yeah.
as well.
That's great.
Okay, so this, we saw earlier, these are the different loading zones that I was talking about. The other thing to note is this driveway that's here on Fourth that goes into the middle sandlot area. They are going to close this to gain 2 more parking spots. So that's gonna be different. We'll have to get into this area by car, drive around and go in this way instead. And this was already part of our market infrastructure design, so this had already been, we were expecting this to happen as well, but it looks like as part of this project, that will be happening. So the good news is we're gaining parking spaces. Bad news is, instead of having 2 entrances to that area, we'll have the one.
And just out of curiosity too with this, so when they rip up Fifth, it seems, and they'll be doing this throughout not this summer, but next summer, that what do the farmers who actually use that to access into that area do?
Yeah, so luckily, the only, farmers who come down Fifth
Yeah.
and then, turn into here to get to the market.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so that we need to come up with a plan. I don't know yet, the length of time that this, when they won't be able to access this particular part. Hopefully, it will be very short.
Okay.
So once we know how long and when that's gonna happen, I feel like we can start coming up with a better plan. I do know, this little area here, there's gonna be maybe a week or maybe 2 weeks when we'll be able to get in here in Detroit, but we can't
Get out.
get out. once
One
it's
way.
fit.
Leave your car there.
Yeah, so, that's gonna be some traffic controlling, so they can get out, back out.
And I guess the same thing is then with the parking in Community High, because a lot of people park there during Saturdays in particular, and so that will occasionally potentially get blocked off too, I assume.
I don't know.
Okay.
Because
And there are
last
2
time,
entrances, but.
yeah, because the last I heard, they were still strategizing with all of the parties involved. Does it make sense to close both lanes and get it done faster?
Mhm.
Or does it make sense to double your timeline and close it 1 lane at a
Okay,
time?
but they haven't decided yet then.
Last time I heard it, they haven't.
Because that would be a big, and there are a lot of people that park there on a busy Saturday. It's
Exactly.
totally packed. so
Yeah.
it's-
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. We will need to know. Right, yeah, 30-foot box trucks. There we go.
Mhm.
That's how big they can be to fit into that area. So that's the last slide. And that's kind of where we're at now and what we know. So. But yeah, those questions that you asked are really good ones that we'll have to find out. Are there any other things you can think of? I guess what I'm wondering is, can you think of anything else like right now that we can ask and find out? I mean, this is obviously a process and it won't be starting till next spring, but, Okay, yeah.
Seems good.
Well, we'll keep you updated.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, looks good.
All right, so we are on to regular business agenda items, which is the farmer's market memo. It is attachment a couple pages down. Do we,
Yeah, I included that. This went past City Council and PAC recently. You've all received copies, so we don't need to read through the whole thing. But I just wanted to note kind of the last paragraph, which says where we are right now. Staff are evaluating work that can still be performed for the existing infrastructure that were identified on the site plan, such as parking lot replacement, including stormwater improvements using pervious pavers, ADA restroom upgrades, the 4th Avenue streetscape enhancements, including benches and landscaping, with an eye to executing these improvements in such a way that if additional funding is secured, the all-season structure can be built, understanding that the project site plan is approved for a 3-year period. So basically, we decided to delay construction, but it is approved for 3 years. So we have 3 years. We're going to be doing, looking for additional funding, as well as, we have been talking with the contractors about the, different pieces of the project and which of those pieces we can do now or sooner, without, prohibiting for the future, without prohibiting us being able to build this. So, some of those, like I said, were I think everyone's very concerned about the parking lot pavement. So that may be some grading issues, stuff like that. So that hopefully we'll be able to start much sooner.
So you said that the project's approved for 3 years, and all the funders who promised committed funds, have they committed for committed to holding that funding for 3 years as well?
Yeah, so we still have access to most, if not all of the funding. I think however, like some of the things that we're doing are changing because, for example, if we're going to do the parking lot differently because we're doing it in a different order or something like that, we do need to have those discussions with them and make sure that everyone is still on board. But for the most part, yes, funding is still there. Our hope was to, the market gave a lot of our own funding to this project. So we thought it would be nice to keep some of that in savings for future emergencies in case something did come up, and this gave us this opportunity to maybe get funding elsewhere and not have to deplete everything.
And I guess in that same vein too, is there a plan or thought if we did try to gain more funds, how we do that?
Yeah, I think we haven't gotten to that point yet because we're still hoping that we'll be able to talk to the contractors and see what can be done right now, and that's what we're really focusing on right now is, what can we get done presently, and then I think the next step is to see what those other funding sources may be.
Okay.
I guess the only question I have is like some of these projects, do they have to go through a fairly large bidding process or like, are these things possible for like the summer, like the ADA restroom upgrades? Like, are they, is it like it's the same exact bidding process? Or-
I don't know the answer to that.
Okay.
I think it depends if we're able to work with the current figure out with our, one
Okay.
who did make the bid,
Got it,
what they can do and how much we have to kind of piece it up.
got it.
Um,
Okay.
So I'm not sure.
Okay. All right. Any other questions on that? All right. Any new business items, non-agenda items? Okay. Then we're on to the market manager report.
Okay, so Give 365 came to our last food truck rally and did kids' activities for us, which I feel like went really well. They seemed like they were well received, and they will be back in July and August. We've also, Becky, the market assistant, has been working hard to try to create partnerships with other groups, Leslie Science Center, for example, to maybe come on Wednesdays or doing like a slower market day and maybe being able to offer kids activities or something as well. So we're working on that. And same for some music. We don't want to put music like right in the middle of market, but we, like, for example, the other day had some out front of the office on 4th Street. So that's just kind of been nice to be able to add a little additional things to the market. We received a $50,000 commitment of a $50,000 grant from Fair Food Network for the next year for a Double Up Food Bucks program, so we can continue that. And that needs to be approved by City Council, and they will be reviewing it on June 19th. It's sort of the process we go through every year. So 50,000 is what we received last year, so that's on track. Yeah.
And what did you, of that 50,000, what, do you know what was used last year? Did you use all of it, or?
We came very close. Yeah.
That's great.
Mhm.
And let's see. Last month, we talked a little bit about carts, making the shopping experience easier for customers. One thing we have done, or I've done, is bought 2 carts for vendors to be able to use in the mornings and for loading at the end of the day, but also that customers may be able to rent or use while shopping. Trying to figure out a good way so they don't walk off with them, but they're larger. They're like wagon carts. So, one idea was to have them leave their ID at the office and then be able to take the cart and use it wherever they wanted, and then they'd have to return it to get their ID back, sort of like a rental station. And Peter, do you want to talk about some of those
Sure.
ideas you sent?
Yeah, no, so I've been kind of thinking through this issue too with this idea of solving these parking problems of how do you get more of this stuff out, and also actually working as a fundraising idea too, of if you essentially you can buy carts on Amazon, you can buy them in bulk, and we could get them one thing we could do is actually brand it for the farmer's market, so then it'd be something that the market could sell, and then would provide zillions of these walking carts for people, which would be great for the market, also just make the city of Ann Arbor more walkable, and help to educate people more about parking. And I've used a cart for many years for going around the farmer's market, and people are always amazed. And I've lived in bigger cities before, and everyone has a cart. And people haven't figured that out here yet. And I think it's partially you can't buy them many places.
Mhm.
And so this would be an opportunity to fill that void, and also get some advertising, and get some awareness, and also get some revenue. So I've got 3 carts. I have a whole collection of them, so I can bring them in and show you. I can bring them in here and show everyone here what they are and how they work. And if you've not seen one, they're pretty simple. They're pretty cheap too. So
Be nice to see, an example.
okay.
Be excited.
How long have you had the 2 that you said you purchased?
Oh, just got them.
Okay.
I haven't assembled them yet, so.
So probably not a lot of use yet.
So we'll see how they go over.
It'd be helpful, I think, to know just how, if they're immediately always taken, or kind of what the response is.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. I was also hoping with these new, more intentional pick-up and drop-off zones that customers can have, maybe we can use the carts somewhere around there, having volunteers or something, so customers can, park the cart next to the loading zone and then pull up, and because they'll have more stuff. We'll see.
I think that'd be useful, because one of the things that's always been a challenge with things that have been distributed from the office is, at least from a customer viewpoint, I have no interest in going to the office. I know it's this little kind of, there are no vegetables there, you know, and there's nothing, there's no reason for me to go there.
Yeah.
And I don't really even know that there's anything that for a long time, I didn't know even that people were allowed in that area. And so it'd be nice if there were something almost more like in the booth space or somewhere more visible, because that is where the people are.
Yeah, that's a good suggestion. Yeah, we already talked about the infrastructure memo, and the just yearly salt payments and food assistance program agreements are both due July 1st, something we do every year. So all the vendors have to get those to us to participate in the market and to participate in those programs. We are printing off new signs for the food assistance programs for everyone, because eventually over the course of the year, they get lost. We always need to replace them. These ones will have like magnets on them, and you can just stick them on the pole next to your stall. Although that won't, people in the Sandlot won't be able to do that, but, they can just set it out on their table. Yeah, and finally, the June 7th rally was successful. We had a lot of people come. The lines were really long. It was really crowded. So we are going to be adding 2 or 3 more trucks to the rallies,
That's great.
making it a bigger event. Yeah, the feedback we heard was like, it was great food and the atmosphere was great. It was fun, but the lines were too long, so not everyone stayed for it. So we heard that, and we're trying to respond.
Too successful, that's good.
Yeah.
That's a good problem to have.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you, Stephanie. Second public comment, which is not limited to agenda items. Welcome.
I have to talk a little bit, I'm here, right? Hi, my name is Debbie Marks. I've been a vendor at the Ann Arbor Farmers Market for 25 years now, and all of the vendors that I've talked to are very excited about the building going on hold for a while, and the things that have concerned us are being addressed, and that being the parking lot, the restroom upgrade, huge. Most people just go to Carytown because they don't even want to face the horror of our restrooms, which we have a lot of people there, and we should have nicer, cleaner restrooms. So we're very excited about that. Just to beautify the surrounding area and have places for people to sit is going to be wonderful. We're almost 100 years old. It's a great way to celebrate our beautiful Ann Arbor Farmers Market. I am personally very excited to hear about this median on 5th. Because as you know, well, as some of you know, I'm at that north end of the market. And the semis that deliver to Carytown are a big problem there. And so this will eliminate them from accessing that. And they can park and unload elsewhere, which will be really nice. And it will make pulling in a little different, but not impossible. Wassums are down there. Their truck and Venus trucks are about the same size. They can pull straight in and then back in and maneuver in there. And I just think that's the best news ever. So I'm really excited about that. Thank you. Thank you very much. See you at the farmer's market.
Thanks,
Thanks.
Debbie.
Thank you.
And we are adjourned.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joel.
These
Yeah.
meetings have been so quick.